Good evening, I'm Ces Orenia Drilon.
And I'm Ed Lingao.
The big stories tonight. A temporary truce causes oil prices to slightly drop. But the bigger questions are, will the ceasefire hold? And what does the world do now while waiting for more permanent peace in the Middle East?
Here in the Philippines, government turns to subsidies to help tide over most affected sectors like transportation. But whether assistance can be sustained, that remains to be seen.
And ayuda is coming in too late for fisherfolk in Luzon. Many have quit altogether, no longer able to go out to sea because of steep oil prices.
Pag na-break yung ceasefire, we're back to the uncertain period, no? So risk will be higher. So what will happen? So prices again will spike up.
Hinihingi lang namin yung malinaw na sagot, no, kung makakapag-payout ba kami this week. At least may ina-expect kaming ayuda.
Hindi sapat yun. Pampalubag lang yun eh. Lalo na kung nabalitaan ko tataas na naman yung gasolina. Isipin mo naman, ang hirap ng pasada. Sa panahon ng ito, huwag ka nang maselan para makaraos lang.
World crude oil prices have fallen sharply after today's announcement of a ceasefire between the United States and Iran.
This comes after weeks of record high for oil prices, which have greatly affected prices worldwide.
But will a reprieve at the local pump follow? Mobile journalist Daniel Dayaw has tonight's big story.
Day 39 of the U.S.-Israel-Iran conflict finally saw a ceasefire agreement. Iran and the United States have agreed to a 2-week ceasefire after more than a month of fighting. The truce came after U.S. President Donald Trump announced just hours ahead of his deadline that he had agreed to suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for a period of 2 weeks. The condition, Iran reopens the Strait of Hormuz. Earlier, Trump had warned of massive attacks unless the Persian nation agreed to a deal before his deadline. Iran, however, asserted it was America which agreed to follow the conditions they set to end the war. Among Tehran's 10 conditions, the withdrawal of all U.S. military forces from the Middle East, the lifting of sanctions on the country, and compensations from the United States for the damage caused by the war. Meanwhile, Israel has also recognized the said ceasefire, but clarified that Lebanon is not included in the pact. Pakistan will serve as a mediator in the peace talks reportedly set to begin on Friday. There is no official word yet on when the ceasefire will begin, but the opening of the Strait of Hormuz is seen as the signal for it. As this developed, oil prices dropped below $100 a barrel on Wednesday, April 8. Brent crude fell to roughly $94 a barrel. Despite the decline, markets remain cautious about the durability of the truce.
Pag na-break yung ceasefire, we're back to the uncertain period, no? So risk will be higher. So what will happen? So prices again will spike up.
Fuel prices are also expected to see a slight reprieve due to the drop. Here in the country, it could take some time before the pump reflects these developments.
It will take a few months. Yung mga tinira po ng mga refinery, logistics facilities, kahit magdatingan lahat ng barko to the refineries natin sa Southeast Asia, limitado rin yung storage capacity ng mga refinery. Lahat yun may catch up po tayo.
Also on the day Trump and Iran announced a 2-week truce, President Bongbong Marcos presided over the Uplift Committee meeting to review recommendations on the excise tax on petroleum products. There's still no word, though, if he will already exercise his emergency powers and temporarily cut fuel taxes. Oil's sharp fall after the Gulf ceasefire is considered one of the largest since the conflict began. So much that it led to a slight uplift to global stock markets as well. The peso traded at more than 60 pesos to the greenback in the last 2 weeks. Kapatid Mobile Journal Daniel Dayaw, we are One News.
The Social Welfare Department resumed aid distribution today, this time for drivers in the provinces. Payout was a breeze in several areas while challenging in some.
One persistent problem is missing names in the assistance list. And so to solve this, the DSWD plans to go digital. More from mobile journalist Amy Atienza.
Hundreds of tricycle drivers patiently lined up on the first day of payout under the Assistance to Individuals in Crisis Situation or AICS program. In Angeles, Pampanga, Rino Nunag was one of them on Wednesday, April 8. He waited for more than an hour before getting the 5,000 peso cash assistance from the Social Welfare Department. While grateful, Rino said the amount can only stretch so much.
Kung ako tatanungin mo, hindi sapat yun. Hindi sapat yun kasi kumbaga sa ano parang pampalubag ano lang yun eh. Lalo na kung nabalitaan ko tataas na naman yung gasolina. Sipin mo naman, ang hirap ng pasada. May pambili ka na ng bigas, may pambili ka na ng ulam. Bakit? Gayon sa panahon nga ito, huwag ka nang maselan. Kahit dilata lang, itlog, pwede na para makaraos lang.
But there were also those who went home empty-handed. They were not on the list of beneficiaries, although they have signed on with their respective associations. It is frustration and confusion for these drivers.
8 a.m. nandito na po kami. Maraming tao na nagipag-ano kami sa mga katoda namin, mga tricycle driver. Tapos ganito pa yung madadaanan namin. Wala yung pangalan. Ako mismo yung gumawa sa master list. Tapos wala yung pangalan ko. Naghintay po kami ilang oras dito. Tapos ganito yung madadaanan namin. Talaga pong nakakasama.
Kami sir, inihingi lang namin yung malinaw na sagot no, kung makakapag-payout ba kami this week or next week. At least may ina-expect kaming ayuda. Kaso wala rin silang malinaw na sagot na kung makakapag-payout ba kami this week or next week. Wala mong siyempre, sasama yung loob namin, sir. Nakakuha yung kasama namin, tapos kami, wala.
Some tricycle drivers in Panabo City, Davao del Norte had the same sentiment. They too had to endure the long lines and the runaround.
Ang panawagan na mo, kay mapil media, kay legal may mga dili may mga kolorom. Dapat priority me.
In the province of Rizal, aid distribution was a breeze as it was mostly done digitally. But this TNVS rider tried to get assistance, although he is not scheduled to receive one yet. But he said he needs it now more than ever.
Ang 5,000 yan, 3 araw mo ibabiyay, ulan, init, pagod. Sipo, yan.
In Cebu, the DSWD payout also went well. In one barangay, all beneficiaries received 5,000 pesos each before 12 noon. While over at the LTFRB Region 7, distribution of fuel subsidy began for UV Express and bus units. Drivers got 5,000 pesos while operators got 10,000. The DSWD explains that the master list of beneficiaries came from local government units. A special payout will be scheduled this month for those who failed to get their share of the ayuda.
Una, yung listahan hindi nanggaling sa amin. Pero kung sakaling hindi kayo nasama na sa listahan, meron naman kaming inilulunsad ng mga special payouts. Sa Metro Manila next week na yan. Lahat ng sektor uulitin natin yung mga hindi nakaklaim. Meron din kasi nasa listahan pero sa araw na yun hindi nakapunta dahil nasa hospital, umuwi ng probinsya. So next week, kasado na sa Metro Manila yung mga special payout. I-announce na namin yung mga petsa by tomorrow. Pero gagawin din natin yan sa countryside, sa labas ng Metro Manila. Yung unclaimed, kailangan makaklaim sila. Unclaimed yun, nasa listahan sila pero hindi nakapunta.
There are around 367,000 tricycle drivers targeted for the DSWD subsidy in the provinces. There were only 59,000 in Metro Manila, most of whom already received aid. The DSWD is planning to make the distribution purely digital, at least for the next rounds of payout. A better option for TNVS and motorcycle taxi drivers scheduled next for the help as they frequently use e-wallets in their trade.
Dahil kami ang nagka-cash advance, kami ang humahawak ng pondo, kailangan pananagutan namin to. So ginawa namin to physical para ma-validate namin. Ano ba yung tinitingnan namin? Una, totoong tao ba yung pinag-uusapan natin? Physical ba siyang buhay? Pangalawa, driver ba talaga siya? So that's why we're requiring yung physical presence now para makita namin na walang ghost beneficiary. The next round, kinakausap na namin yung mga financial service provider para we can go e-wallet or digital. Lalo-lalo na yung mga TNVS, yan yung yung mga ride-hailing na 4-wheel. yung mga MC taxi, yung mga service delivery. Yung mga yan, lahat yan, meron yung e-wallet kasi yung commissions nila, nakukuha nila through e-wallets eh.
Kapatid Amy Atienza, VR 1 News.
And we discussed this further with DSWD spokesperson, Assistant Secretary Irene Dumlao. Good evening, ASEC, and welcome to the big story once again.
Ay, magandang gabi po,
Yeah.
Mrs. And magandang gabi din sa subaybay po ng inyong programa.
Alam nyo, one really exasperating feature is yung nawawala, yung pumipila tapos wala sila sa listahan. Ano pong pwedeng one big time solution po dyan para matigil na yung mga reklamo na ganito? And I don't know if how can digital help?
Yes, actually, una, would like to take this opportunity to apologize to some of the drivers who were not included in the list and who were not able to claim their financial assistance today. But as explained also by Secretary Rex Gatchalian, kung hindi nyo naman po na-claim ngayon, we will be arranging a special payout like what we did dito po sa Metro Manila. Now, for those who were not included in the list, dalawa po yan. One is, hindi po kayo nailista ng inyo pong mga transport regulatory units, hindi po kayo nailista ng inyong sa mga naisumite sa mga local social welfare officers, kaya wala pong mga pangalan nyo na nakarating sa DSWD. Or pangalawa, maybe your names were submitted but incomplete po yung information. Kasi nung nagsagawa na isubmit sa DSWD yung list, and then we did the duplication, kinakailangan kasi na kumpleto yung inyo pong impormasyon, like your family name should be provided, your birth date should be provided, kasi posible na may kapangalan po kayo sa similar area. And then the only way to differentiate you from another individual is for us to be supplied with those information, because that's what we basically do in the deduplication process. So if that's absent, ibabalik po namin sa local government unit para sila naman po yung mag-supply nun sa amin. So hindi naman po kinakailangang mag-alala, because if you're eligible drivers and then makita natin that dapat kayong mapasama, again, we will schedule another payout for you.
Mm-hmm. But where is the trouble? Is it in the local government unit that doesn't give you full information? Or the operator? Sino po bang may kasalanan ng ganitong mga aberya?
Actually, we don't want to put blame on anyone. In this period, ang kinakailangan talaga is magtulungan. We understand that the local government unit secured the list from the TODAS, yung mga transport regulatory unit doon sa kanilang pong lugar. And sometimes in the submission of list ay possible na nagkakaroon ng kamalian sa pag-encode, or yun nga po, hindi sapat yung information na i-provide. Kaya merong mga na-leave out doon sa ating pong mga list. But then again, sabi nga po natin, we're working naman with local government units. In fact, meron tayong mga ginagawa ng mga joint health teams para makuha natin yung karagdagang impormasyon and to ensure and enable us to deliver the services to the tricycle drivers.
ASEC, did you start going digital today already?
Actually, for the tricycle drivers outside of Metro Manila, we're still doing manual payout. Kasi pamamaraan po yan ng DSWD to parang know your client processes yung ginagawa namin. So that when we adopt electronic wallets on the second wave of this financial assistance provision, ay mas magiging madali na, because we have already verified the information on those drivers, and then malalaman na natin din kung ano yung kanilang mga electronic wallets, or we will be able to help them come up with their electronic accounts para doon na nga po pupunta yung kanila pong mga cash relief assistance.
So hindi pa nasisimulan?
Yes, we haven't started it yet, but we're planning to adopt digital systems on the second wave or the second tranche of this financial assistance to help us also cut on administrative and operational costs, and of course to make the processes more efficient and more convenient para sa ating mga drivers.
Ma'am, I understand that it's complicated on your part kasi you're working with information you're only given by, for example, the LGUs. These are drivers who are listed by the LGUs, and I don't think you're listing them as DSWD. However, the fact is that these guys earn from day to day, and what they earn today is what they feed their family with. So even if we say na meron pa namang susunod na bigayan, that's already one day lost na livelihood eh. So I'm wondering how we can facilitate or how we can speed up and make it easier for people who are having a hard time as it is. I know it's not entirely your fault kasi nga you're working with information you're only given by the LGUs eh. Pero baka there's a way then to I don't know, not be
I
too...
hope the government can have a master list someday
Kawawa rin
of
kasi.
all these transport workers na talagang very solid na. It's kasi, tiresome din to keep hearing complaints na, wala po kami.
Tapos pipila sila po. Isang buong araw po yan na walang trabaho. Alam mo naman po yung mga...
That's correct. I totally agree with you. In fact, in one of our discussions this afternoon, after na umikot kami ni Secretary Rex Gatchalian, isa sa mga nakikita natin is, yung integrate natin yung database ng mga drivers, which actually we don't have yet, no? Kasi in the past, yung mga fuel subsidy that were provided by the government, mga operators lang yung nabibigyan. But this is the first time that we're providing or extending assistance to drivers. So ngayon, meron na tayong mga binubuo ng mga listahan or database ng mga drivers. Now, ang nakikita natin dito is maybe do a PhilSys integration with the CBMS. Kasi as it is, no, nakita natin na hindi naman po lahat ng mga tricycle drivers ay may national ID. So maybe we could work on the data integration and then also make sure na naka-reflect kung sino yung mga drivers doon sa CBMS natin. Maybe that would help no, in terms of policy and operational concerns. And then isa rin sa posible na pwede nating gawin, of course, ay yung aside from the data integration nga, we could also push for the creation of a database for our drivers.
Right. And just a clarification, kasi kagabi nandito po si Manibela President Marval Buena at sinabi sa amin na halos lahat ng miyembro ng Manibela ay hindi nakatanggap ng ayuda. Is it through DSWD ba o DOTR po yung kanila?
Actually, mga jeepney drivers po natin, the list came from the LTFRB. But we understand that the LTFRB got the list also from the JODA, kasi may mga iba pong organisasyon yan. Now, maybe Sir Val could help us doon sa pag-verify kung wala nga pong mga miyembro ng kanilang asosasyon o ng kanilang grupo ang nakatanggap pa ng cash relief assistance, because dito sa National Capital Region, we've already served more than 22,000 jeepney drivers. And if it's true na wala pa sa kanilang member ang nakakatanggap, then we'd gladly verify that information. And we can check naman din our database or the existing master list of jeepney drivers to ensure that they would also be served under this program.
Ma'am, is this a one-shot deal or are there plans for a second and possibly a third series of ayuda for these drivers? Kasi looking at the numbers that the amounts being given out, siguro masaya ka na kung mag-isang full tank yan eh.
Hindi abot.
Hindi abot.
So actually, we're looking at another round of distribution for the financial assistance. Kasi yan po ang utos ng Pangulong Marcos Jr. sa DSWD na tuloy-tuloy na tulungan itong mga drivers natin who are most affected dahil nga doon sa patuloy na pagtaas ng presyo ng petrolyo.
May balak po bang makipagdialogo sa mga transport groups ang DSWD?
Actually, since we did that already, pinatawag po ng DSWD ang LTFRB, ang mga TNCs, gayon din po yung mga asosasyon ng mga TNVS, mga FCC taxi drivers. We've met with them and we've tried to address yung mga operational issues and yung mga concerns on why some of their members were not included in the list. of drivers who received financial aid. And ang isa sa mga naging agreements po natin ay mag-compare tayo ng notes. No? So we created help teams, pumunta sa mga local government units, nakipag-usap sa mga TODA, sa mga JODA, so that we could compare notes and then identify who among their members were not included in the list, and then isasama po natin upon verification. And again, on Monday, magkakaroon na naman kami ng another meeting to make sure na maayos po yung mga concerns before we roll out the special payout for the drivers nga who were not able to claim their aid, and of course, to those na napasama dun sa supplemental list.
Complete attendance naman po ang mga transport groups.
Yes, lahat naman po sila pumupunta, pati mga kumpanya that they work with ay well represented, and naging maayos naman po yung mga pagpupulong natin. And hopefully on Monday, when we meet again with them, ay mapapolish na po natin yung mga operational issues, and mapasama na lahat ng kanilang mga miyembro who initially were not included in the list. And yun nga po, ang sabi naman po natin sa kanila, lahat ng mga onboard sa systems nyo ay dapat po maisama.
Asek, may balak ba kayong isali ang mga agricultural workers? Kasi although, of course, it's the DA that's in charge, yung pondo nila mas maliit kasi. Hihingi pa dun sa Office of the President. And I think 4,000 something lang po ang maibibigay sa kanila.
Well, right now, ang ginagawa po ng DSWD is to serve muna itong mga drivers natin, because based nga dun sa ating pong mga assessment and consultations with them, even our conversations with the drivers, sinasabi na talaga na sila yung sobrang apektado. Kung dati-dati yung mga tricycle drivers ay nakakapag-uwi ng mga 700 or 800 pesos, now ang naiuwi nila ay half of it or sometimes less than half of it, pag minsan nga daw negative. Kaya sabi namin na okay, so ito po muna yung mga tutulungan natin because nakita natin that they are in crisis situation. Anyhow, other government agencies are also providing or extending assistance to the different sectors. Ang mahalaga kasi dito, Ses and Ed, tulong-tulong yung iba't ibang ahensya ng pamahalaan para ma-serve or ma-address nga po yung mga iba't ibang mga concerns ng iba't ibang sektor sa ating lipunan.
Ma'am, I understand that the LTFRB will be beginning service contracting nationwide for jeepney drivers and I don't know if kasama tricycle drivers. Kasama ho ba kayo doon sa kasunduang yon, service contracting for PUJs?
Well, I'll have to defer now to the DOTR. I think they're the appropriate agency to address that matter. Kami po sa DSWD, we're looking at things at the social protection lens. Nagpo-provide lang po tayo ng social safety nets para ma-caution nga po yung impact nitong pagtaas ng presyo ng petrolyo dun sa mga vulnerable sectors. And we're providing the cash relief assistance, of course, as a stimulus to make local markets alive and to make people remain in the streets.
I understand, ma'am. But I asked that question kasi kung matuloy po yung service contracting for the PUJs, and that lessens the urgency and the need for more ayuda for the drivers. Kasi in other words, they will be employed by the state and they will be given salaries by the state to continue plying the routes. Maliban pa doon sa kanilang actually, as per Pasamasa at least, ang kasundo doon nila, merong sweldo from the government for the service contracting.
They can charge
and then they can charge pa jeepney fares.
Yes. Again, Ed, we're looking at this situation, the social protection lens, na sabi nga natin, even if mag-improve yung situation, magkaroon ng mga recent developments at mabigyan ng ibang intervention itong mga vulnerable sectors natin, including the drivers, hindi kasi madaling ibalik yung sitwasyon nila that they had prior to this crisis. Kaya nga sa DSWD, we need to monitor their situation, and then dapat ginagamitan natin nga ng case management para yung pong intervention ay tuloy-tuloy din until such time that they could fully recover. We don't expect naman na overnight mag-improve po yung situation ng ating mga vulnerable sector, especially with the crisis that we are facing. Kaya again, even with several interventions provided by other government agencies, we believe in the department that we need to continue assisting them.
Ma'am, paabot na lang po. I'm wondering how prepared DSWD is and government in general for the medium to long term. Kasi if you listen to, for example, Energy Secretary Garin, even if they come to an agreement and there's peace in the Middle East by today or tomorrow, the prices of oil will stay high, and we don't even know if it's gonna come down anytime soon. Ang sabi ni former Energy Secretary Jericho Petilla sa amin kanina, might take a year and a half, maybe even more, before the prices normalize. So if that is the case, you will have to be ready po for medyo long-term ayuda.
Well, yes, Ed, for our social safety net, particularly for assistance to individuals in crisis situation, if you would recall, we've mentioned that we've earmarked 30 billion pesos of the more than 60 billion pesos na pondo for the assistance to individuals in crisis situation. And from our implementation of the cash relief assistance within the National Capital Region for the past 2 weeks, we've spent around 1.6 billion pesos already, serving more than 260,000 drivers. So that's 1.6 billion. Tapos nakita natin that for the tricycle drivers outside Metro Manila, ang pondo natin dyan, I'm sorry, that for the tricycle drivers outside Metro Manila, that's 1.6 billion. Yun ang indicative amount or funding requirement natin. And then yung mga drivers served within the National Capital Region, nasa mahigit 1.3 billion pesos po yung ginamit natin dyan. So if you add up, so 1.6 and then 1.3, that's 2.9 billion pesos. And then
So,
kung...
may 27 pa.
Yeah. O para dun sa iba pang mga drivers outside Metro Manila. So we think we're ready. We have more than enough budget to serve ito nga pong mga vulnerable sectors, even if we have to do another round or a repeat of this financial assistance.
Kaya pa.
Ma'am,
Hanggang ilang
Several
rounds?
repeats yan.
Hanggang ilang rounds ang kaya ng budget?
Have to see and of course sabi nga rin ni Secretary Rex Gatchalian, we'll also have to consult our economic managers because there are also other programs and services that we are also implementing. Pero mahalaga rin dito yung nabanggit nyo nga, yung mga long-term solutions, yung mga other interventions that would really help yung ating pong mga vulnerable sectors. One of which, of course, is yung livelihood or yung Sustainable Livelihood Program of the DSWD, which actually, we're providing also to repatriated overseas Filipino workers. Yung pag-ikot namin kanina, nakita natin na may mga repatriated overseas Filipino workers na asawa ng mga tricycle drivers, and we've actually assessed them and provided seed capital fund so that they could also come up with livelihood activities.
Okay, we thank you, but ASEC, I'm really looking forward today. We are looking forward to the day na wala na kaming maririnig na reklamo na wala ang pangalan ko sa listahan. Sana hindi na maulit talaga.
Yes, Ms. Seth, we're also looking at that day na lahat nga po ay lahat masaya dahil nakatanggap ng tulong at wala na po sana nga mga mag-express ng kanila pong mga hinaing dahil hindi nga po napasama sa listahan. But sabi ko nga po, we're working on that. We recognize the problem and we're working with other government agencies to address it.
All right. ASEC Irene Dumlao, DSWD spokesperson. Thank you very much.
This is the big story on One News. Up next, we hear from an agricultural group that says that half of Luzon fishermen have stopped fishing altogether because of massive fuel price hikes. We have that story and more when we return. Please stay tuned.
You're watching the big story here on One News. Despite announcement and assurances of aid from the government, it seems the truth is very different on the ground. The Samahang Industriya ng Agrikultura or SINAG decried the lack of support to fisherfolk. Executive Director Jason Cainglet said those who cannot afford to head out to sea are increasing. Based on SINAG surveys, the number of fisherfolk across several Luzon provinces have dwindled to nearly half. due to rising fuel prices. Data show that during the third straight week of the oil price surge, 30% of the fishing sector in Cavite, Bataan, Zambales, and Pangasinan had stood down. The Agriculture Department has rolled out a 3,000 peso fuel subsidy for fisher folk, but Kainglet insists the one-time assistance is not enough. And joining us tonight to talk about this and what ails the agriculture sector now is Sinag Executive Director Jason Kainglet. Good evening and welcome to The Big Story.
Good evening, Mrs. at Sir Ed at sa lahat po ng nanonood na kanyang programa.
Opo, ilan na po kayang mga mangingisda ang nakakuha na nung aid ng binibigay ng DA?
Based po sa hearing kanina, very minimal. In fact, pagka nung tinanong kung how much are to be given, unfortunately, ang budget pa lang nila is 100 million and ipapamahagi ng 3,000 each sa mangingisda at around 15,000 fisher folk. Ibig sabihin, not even 1% ng kabuoang 2.5 million fisher folk ang makakatanggap nitong first wave ng sinasabi nilang ayuda. So talaga pong very little, very late. It's 6 weeks since the conflict started in the Middle East. Wala po talagang nakukuha pa ang mga fisher folk at sila po talaga yung sumasalo ng bigat because yung crudo po kanina na I was hearing yung discussion nyo sa transport sector, mas mabigat sa ating mga mangingisda po yung impact kasi yung crudo, yun lang talaga ang kanyang kailangan para makapalaut siya sa mga karagatan, and they usually use between 10 to 15 liters. So kung tumaas po siya ng times 3, nasa 170 ngayon, ibig sabihin plus 100 per liter. Kung 10 liters yan, ibig sabihin plus 1,000 a day yung kanyang extra burden sa pangingisda. Kaya talagang marami na po ang tumigil because yung additional 1,000 ay parang nagsayang ka lang ng pagod mo, mapupunta lang sa crudo, yung kikitain mo po sa pangingisda.
Tama. Bakit po, saan po saan naiipit ang pondo? Ano po nangyayari? Dahil salita ng salita yung mga government officials natin na may ganitong pera, etc., etc.
Huwag ka maglala, may dating na ayuda, ganun.
Yeah. Sabi nila kanina, they would be needing 37 billion. Pero apparently, ang hawak nila is 100 million. May nakaabang na 10 billion from the presidential contingency fund something. But during the hearing kanina po sa Senate, in fact, sabi ng mga senators, you can use additional 28 billion. So ibig sabihin, 6 weeks into the whole crisis, nagma-mathematics pa yung ating mga agencies kung saan kukuha ng pera and how to provide relief sa ating mga farmers and fisher folk. Pero sabi nga natin po, everyday na walang ayuda, pabawas ng pabawas po yung nagsasaka at pabawas ng pabawas yung nangingisda po. So it's really very unfortunate. At least yung transport, meron na nabigyan ng ayuda. They can easily shift po kung
tapos ang liit-liit pa nga yung 4,000 lang po nga po, di ba? At 3,000. 3,000
lang po to 15,000. So talagang yung ayuda as it is right now, talagang very little, trickle in the bucket dahil nga 2 million and yet 15,000 pa lang yung targeted mo na mabigyan ng ayuda. So again, ang sinasabi natin, no choice ang ating mga mangingisda kundi tumigil. Saan sila pupulutin? Habang tumatagal po, talagang nag-evolve. So yung crisis, sinasabi natin, matagal pa yan, naghahanda na, pero on the ground, it's right here and it's right now.
But I suppose the bigger problem is hindi nagkakasundo sa definisyon kung sino ang mangingisda, therefore sino ang eligible sa ayuda. Kasi if I understand you correctly dun sa hearing, ang sabi ata sa inyo kung wala kang pag-aaring bangka hindi ka counted, tama ba 'yon? Kasi if that's the case, that sounds like kung wala kang pag-aaring lupa, hindi ka magsasaka.
Kasi yung fuel na kanilang subsidy, sinasabi nila pag you don't own a bangka, motorized bangka, hindi ka gumagamit ng krudo. Sa mga farmers, ganoon din. Pag wala kang farm machineries, wala kang tractor, wala kang thresher, wala kang irrigation pump, therefore, hindi mo kailangan ng krudo. So, it's a very outdated na requirement. Alam naman natin po sa mga fishing communities, naghihiraman ng mga bangka.
Tama.
Ganun,
Naghahanap lang
ganun.
sila ng palusot.
We're hoping not kasi alam naman nila yung sitwasyon sa ground. Kaya lang, sabi natin, kung yun ang pamantayan nyo, maybe that was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it's so outdated. Easily verifiable. May mga DSWD sa barangay level, they tap DSWD kung kulang ang tao ng DA, they work with the barangays, kilala ng barangays kung sino po yung mga nangingisda, easily verifiable 1 to 2 days. They can come up with a list.
Na-resolve ba yung issue yun? Kasi I think that's a very fundamental issue. Who do you define to be a fisherman or a farmer and therefore eligible for this kind of ayuda? Has that ever been resolved or was that resolved kanina?
Not yet kasi kanina pinag-uusapan pa, pinagdedebatehan sa kukuya ng pera. So I think mas basic yung sa kukuya ng pera. And then later, sabi natin, madali yan, go to the barangays, itap nyo yung mga, nandyan naman ng mga government agencies, it can work. Kasi nga, ang problema kapag namili ka ng bibigan lang, it would create trouble pa sa barangay. Bakit yung iba nabigyan, yung iba hindi.
Kaya nga.
It's an unnecessary problem pa sa barangay na magre-resolve pa sa conflict imbis na makatulong yung mga ayuda po na ipo-provide sana.
Naghahanap pa ng pondo. Ang ibig sabihin po yung contingency fund ni Presidente ay hindi pa na i-release para dito. Kasi yun ang sinabi ni Secretary Chu Laurel.
Kanina ang paniwanag nila, may mga paperworks pa nang gagawin, mainly administrative. So kaya sabi natin, it should be sooner kasi kung next week pa yan, baka wala nang mangisda. Baka wala na talagang...
Going to the 5th week?
What is the point of declaring a national energy emergency with nothing to show for it?
I can sympathize with the rank and file ng DA. Talagang sinabi nila, wala sa budget wala sa GAA. So sabi nila, they're finding ways. Pero sabi natin, matagal na itong crisis. It's been 5 weeks, magsi 6 weeks na next week. So, sobrang tagal. It could have been done in 1 to 2 days kung talagang pinag-aksayahan ng panahon in where to come up with a budget para ibigay po sa mga farmers and fisher folk.
Kasi nag-ceasefire na nga
Yun na nga. Tapos wala pa rin tulong.
Wala pa rin budget.
At sa totoo lang, sa agriculture dapat ibuhos ang pera because we want to ensure food security.
Ang sabi nga natin, ayaw naman nating ikumpara, pero mas mabigat talaga yung problema ng food producers than itong mga nasa urban centers na meron silang mga community pantries, may support group, marami, pero sa kanayunan wala talagang ikaw ang bahala sa sarili mo. Of course, you produce food, may makakain ka. Kaya lang, pag wala ka ng panggastos to produce food, yun ang magiging problema. Swerte tayo dahil katatapos lang ng harvest ng palay, ng mais, kakaano lang ng ating mga vegetable growers, nandyan yung ating livestock. Pero in 2 to 3 months, magiging problema yan as we start preparing our land para sa panibagong cycle ng farming. Pero sa mga fisher folk, Mrs., talagang wala. On a daily basis, nababawasan talaga yung nakakapangisda because there is no support coming from government as we speak.
So what's the solution po? Let's talk about solutions kasi,
Kung may choice nga lang, actually, ang farmers and fisher folk, hindi sila humingi ng ayuda Kung kayang dalhin yung gas station sa mga pantalan, kung kayang dalhin ng gas station sa mga farms, okay, they need the support, yung crudo, para makapag-produce sila ng pagkain, para makapangisda sila. They're not even asking for ayuda, tapos tatambay na lang, magtotongit, inom. They need the ayuda para makapag-produce sila ng ating pagkain, makapanghuli sila ng isda, makapag-alaga ng baboy at manok, para po sa ating food security. I know it sounds so romanticizing, pero yun lang talaga ang hinihingi po ng ating mga farmers and fishers, support para sa kanilang production. They're not even asking for support para bigyan sila ng ayuda.
So actually, you have two problems here. On one hand, you have farmers and fishermen who are not able to make a living dahil sa taas ng presyo ng krudo. On the other hand, kung hindi sila makapangisda, mababawasan yung supply ng isda at tataas ang presyo ng isda. So tatamaan
Another
din
pressure
yung consumer naman. Dun sa second half, sir, anong nakikita ninyo? Will there be an impact on supply and on prices?
Pag walang nakuhang support sa government, kasi kahit bigyan mo siya ng 5,000 in one go, kulang. Just imagine, Sir Ed, yung 3,000 na sinasabing ayuda, ang tinaas mo sa crudo is 1,000 per day. Ibig sabihin yung 3,000 mo is just good for 3 days. Yun yung dinagdag. Ano? I mean, you have the 50 pesos before, 170 ngayon, so plus 100. And 10 liters ka a day para makapagpalaot ng maayos. So that's 1,000 per day. Yung 3,000 is just 3 days. Kaya sabi natin, hindi siya sustainable. It can only do so much. Pero after ng 3 days, 4 days, what's next? So ang kailangan po talaga ay tuloy-tuloy na suporta. Kung kaya namang bayaran in advance, ibigay na sa mga mangingisda yung kailangan ng petrol. Ganon din sa ating mga farmers kasi eventually by May next month magtatanim sila. Ang tinaas ng fuel ng fertilizer, which is fuel based, unfortunately dumoble na. So yung 60,000 na cost to produce per hectare ng palay, they would be needing an additional 30,000. So ibig sabihin, saan kukunin ng farmer yung 30,000 para makapagtanim siya ulit ng palay by May or June? So by October or November, Sir Ed, ang tanong mo, ano mangyayari? Kung walang magtatanim by May or June, wala tayong aanihing palay by the last quarter of the year.
You know, earlier, the DSWD said they had 30 billion earmarked for assistance. And so far, parang ang magagastos lang nila is mga 3.
3 billion.
3. Oh.
So mga 1/10 pa lang.
So, ba't hindi ho ba na
Wala silang chat
sangguni
group?
na pwedeng DSWD muna ang magbigay ng tulong?
During the hearing, it was suggested actually na kung may pera ang DSWD, total, ang definition na ng AIGS ay individuals in crisis. So in crisis ang farmer, in crisis ang fisher folk. So hindi na kailangan mag-concentrate lang sa mga transport sector. Immediately, itong sinasabi nilang 18 billion additional or 28 billion na sinabi ng Senado kanina pwedeng magamit, dapat sooner, kung walang pasok bukas, by Friday, ma-sort out, by weekend, ipamigay na sa ating mga farmers and fishers. Kasi nga, eventually, mas doble o triple ang problema natin kapag hindi tayo nakapag-produce ng food. And then, again, rely na naman sa imports. Yun ang gusto-gusto ng NEDA, mag-import tayo. Pero as we've been for the past 2-3 years, walang naidulot yung sobra-sobrang imports. Hindi naman siya bumaba ang presyo, nalugi pa ang farmers natin, hirap din ang ating mga consumers. So, it's really sooner than later, hindi next week, dapat ngayon, bukas, yung matanggap po ng mga suporta ng ating mga mangingisda at mga magsasaka.
Balikan ko lang yung nabanggit mo na kanina kasi yung presyo ng mga pataba ammonia-based fertilizers are produced using natural gas, which as I understand from Secretary Green, na nag-triple na ata yung presyo, if I understand correctly. And dumobli, sabi mo nga, yung presyo ng fertilizer per bag recently. Anong impact niyan down the line, and when will we feel that impact doon sa mga presyo ng agrikultura? If you can, baka you can break it down.
And also, if I may add to that, Secretary Laurel said that they will use yung
biomass?
Bio-N.
Yes.
Bio-N, yeah.
How
Organic fertilizer.
feasible is that?
Well, it's an alternative, pero kasi ang farmer, pag tinanong mo, gagamitin lang niya yan kung sure siyang may higher yield o kikita siya. Kasi it's all right to introduce it, kaya lang sana hindi yung gantong sitwasyon na hindi alam ng farmer kung magiging maganda yung yield niya. Kasi ba't niya gagamitin yun? Mababa naman ang kanyang mapoproduce. Sir Ed, going back to your question, by May or June, kapag hindi nakapagtanim ang farmer, by then, alaman natin na we would be in big trouble by October, November kasi ang stocks natin ng bigas good for 3, 4 months, 5 months. Ganon din sa livestock, meron tayong enough supply, marami pa sa cold storages, pero if we stop raising pigs and chicken, if we stop planting, talagang we would feel it as early as June kasi ini-indication mo na wala ka nang ma-harvest o wala ka nang mapoproduce come last quarter of the year.
We're really in dire straits.
We are. Sabi nila, totoong it's much bigger and worrier than the pandemic kasi yung pandemic at least hindi problema yung presyo ng pandemic. Ang problema ng pandemic is mobility.
Yung movement, no? Yung movement ng goods.
And sana nga po, yung pandemic has taught us one thing, Sir Ed, Mrs., 3 lang yung mahalaga sa buhay ng tao. And the pandemic has proven that. Unang-una, yung agriculture sector because you need food, Yung pangalawa, yung healthcare kasi yun ang magagamot sa'yo. And pangatlo, basurero kasi yun ang maglilinis ng kalat mo. So, we thought that we have learned our lessons ng pandemic pero unfortunately ngayon, parang nasa huli pa rin yung agriculture sa pecking order ng priorities.
We hope the administration moves fast on this one.
Bok, pahabol ako isa pa. Jason, one more for me. Sabi ni Secretary Garin, kahit bumuti yung kalagayan sa gitnang silangan, asan mong hindi pa rin bababa anytime soon yung mga presyo ng krudo. Sinigunda niya ni Petilla, ni dating Energy Secretary, na it might take 1.5 years, maybe even 3 years, Lord knows, bago mag-normalize yung mga presyo ng produktong petrolyo. Kayo ba'y confident na ang gobyerno handa sa ganong klaseng long-term na pagtulong sa mga sektor ninyo?
Sige. Ayoko nang, of course, I won't answer for him.
Ang sagot dyan, we have to be optimistic. I mean, we're talking with Secretary Kiko, okay, Secretary Laurel. We know he's doing his job. Pero syempre, pagdating kasi sa dulo, saan kukunin ang pera, saan kukunin ang funding. So, doon lagi bumabara. Kaya nga, meron tayong ginawang simulations in 3 months, in 6 months, in 9 months. Kapag hindi na-solve, ganito mangyayari. And again, yung kahandaan, redounds kung may pera bang maibibigay. The farmers can produce as long as nandyan yung kanyang panggastos. Yung fisher po, kahit magsagwan siya, gagawin niya kung kailangan. And even yung mga ating mga hog raisers and poultry growers, mag-aalaga sila as long as may suporta. Kasi ang bottom line talaga natin, pag nawala ang agriculture, wala na. That's the end of it. You cannot rely sa global market. Nakita ngayon nangyari sa Iran, US conflict ngayon, talagang unreliable yung global market. And you can only rely talaga sa local market mo. Lalo na kung ang bansa like us ay sagana. We can produce everything. We can produce our own food. Yun nga lang, unfortunately, pagdating sa dulo, laging ang tanong ay kaya bang suportahan yung sektor ng agrikultura. Kung walang crisis, Sir Ed, Mrs., hindi naman nangihingi ang sektor ng agriculture. Self-sufficient kami. Actually, we're better being left alone. Kaya lang talaga ngayon, dahil ngayon sa crisis, talagang kinailangan ng public support at tulong talaga ng government kasi hindi kaya yung sobrang sirit ng presyo. Times 3, imagine, talagang siguro kahit yung mga mayayamang farmers are feeling the crunch right now as well.
All right, we thank you for joining us and sounding the alarm. Jason Cainglet of Agriculture Group, Sinan. You're still watching The Big Story on One News, and up next, the Supreme Court directs the House Justice Committee to respond to the Vice President's petition to stop impeachment hearings against her. The details when we return. Welcome back to The Big Story. The Gulf War is impacting the Philippine property sector as well. One latest report from a consultancy firm is painting quite a grim picture. Mobile Journal Fatima Baduria has the story.
After more than 5 weeks of fighting between the US, Israel, and Iran, the Philippines is feeling the economic aftershocks hard. All areas of the property sector are taking a hit, according to the latest Philippine property market report from Lichu Property Consultants. In tourism, 6 in 10 hotels nationwide, or about 64%, are reporting significant to severe operational impact as the energy crisis drives transportation costs up by as much as 30%. And with tourists tightening their budgets, hotel occupancy is falling. 8 out of 10 hotels are already feeling the drop in foot traffic. LPC also warns that those high costs are not going away anytime soon.
One of the things that we're really worried about is that these elevated prices may be here to stay. And my suspicion is that, as we all know, prices are very quick to rise and very, very slow to come back down.
The residential sector is equally under pressure. Buyers are pulling back and cancellations are on the rise as household budgets get squeezed. Ready for occupancy units now make up 40% of unsold supply, accounting for more than 32,000 units. The slowdown in condominium sales is likewise expected to persist. On the supply side, contractors are battling rising costs too. Some are already invoking force majeure clauses, which could lead to delays or even projects getting stopped altogether.
As contractors are seeing their costs rise, they need to, cover their costs. There might be some delays or stoppages in projects, as developer and contractor if they cannot agree on any increases towards their contracts.
The office sector has been hit too, but there is a bright spot. Despite a 22% quarter-on-quarter dip in gross demand, vacancies are declining and more companies are locking in medium to long-term leases of 5 to 10 years. LPC CEO David Lichu says that stability could translate into something bigger for Filipinos if we can capture some of that capital leaving the Gulf.
Ever since this war happened and the Gulf states were hit, we are seeing a lot of capital looking to move out of the Gulf into the region, into Asia, and in particular, Philippines and Thailand. We should feel very blessed that the office market continues to grow and that we continue to advise and do deals, because those deals are going to translate to jobs in the Philippines.
Kapatid Fatima Baduria, we are One News.
And we have more headlines for you this midweek. The Supreme Court has given the House Justice Committee 10 days to respond to petitions filed by Vice President Sara Duterte's lawyers. They want impeachment proceedings against their client terminated at once. Several House lawmakers have slammed Duterte's move to seek relief from the SC. They believe this is just an attempt to mislead the court and the public. In a related development, the Manila RTC Branch 21 has allowed Ramil Madriaga to attend impeachment proceedings at the House on April 14. Madriaga earlier claimed drug dealers and pogos funded Duterte's 2022 campaign. The self-proclaimed Duterte bagman is currently detained in Camp Bagong Diwa over kidnapping charges.
In other news, Senator Bato de la Rosa is now the upper chamber's top absentee, according to Majority Leader Mig Zubiri. Since the 20th Congress opened on July 28 until March 18 this year, de la Rosa has skipped a total of 31 Senate sessions. Senator Bato has been missing in action since November of last year, when Ombudsman Boying Remulla claimed to have seen an ICC warrant of arrest against him over the Duterte drug war. And the Gulf War has affected the release of new passports. According to the Foreign Affairs Department, passport applications filed on the last week of March onwards will now be processed in 15 working days. That's because the Middle East conflict has disrupted the electronic passport printing supply chains. The longer processing will be in force until further notice.
And finally, for our big picture tonight, here is proof that crisis cannot kill kindness. Since Monday, Trining's Kitchen Stories in Marikina City has been offering free afternoon snacks. The merienda is for public utility vehicle drivers and delivery riders already burdened by the oil crisis. So far, Trinings has provided 250 meals and they will give out snacks one final time on April 10 at 4 p.m. The restaurant, for those who want those free snacks, is located along Gil Fernando Avenue in Barangay Santo Niño, Marikina. Wow.
Ako, kukuyugin yan ngayon.
Pero hanggang April 10 pa, sana ma-extend.
Hanggang April 10 na ba?
Oo. Yun ang last day. Unless siguro people would donate
Or unless i-replicate ng ibang tao. Di ba?
Right.
Like down south sa
Pero
Bandang
you know
Makati.
what? Alam mo, masyado tayong, hindi ko naman sinasabing dapat tigilan na natin. Pero pagtuunan naman natin ng pansin yung mga mangingisda at magsasaka. Pero ayaw nila nung parang charity di ba?
Because they work with the brow on their foreheads with the sweat on their foreheads
No.
they're used to that So what they want is dignity, not ayuda.
So hopefully kumilos ng mas mabilis ang gobyerno na.
And hopefully people will push government to move faster. It's been 5 weeks already.
Oh, I know. And when did we declare? When was the energy emergency declared, di ba?
Hindi pa crisis, ha?
Hindi.
pa crisis.
Oo nga. Tapos parang the overseas media is saying we were one of the first countries to declare an emergency. Hanggang dun lang.
Evil laugh. That's me. And that's a big story this Wednesday. Thank you for watching.
Kapatid, we are One News, all sides, all the time. Have a good night.